Recently, Steven Jackson posted a video on his IG breaking down what he said the difference is between scorers versus hoopers. I'm going to play the whole clip for y'all in its entirety. I pretty much agreed with what he was saying, the sentiments he was describing. Deion Sanders even chimed in the comment section saying, "Preach, my brother. Basketball is my favorite sport and the game ain't the same." That's pretty big coming from somebody who is a Hall of Famer in a whole other sport, obviously not basketball. Now, a lot of people are saying that what Steven Jackson was critiquing was really aimed towards Gilbert Areans because of the recent comments that he's made with the past players and this new generation. And also, Gilbert got NBA players up there, Kenyon Martin, Rashad McCants, Brandon Jennings. And a lot of times when they say things that I disagree with, I look at it like all of y'all are professional basketball players at one point in the NBA. So I'm truly trying to understand the perspectives I hear, even when I think it's a wild take. Steven Jackson, in this video you're about to hear, he breaks down the scoring aspect, saying that is hard to do. It's not easy. Then he takes it a step further. And I got to say, Gilbert would have went down, in my opinion, as one of the greatest scorers in NBA history had he been able to continue his run with the Washington Wizards. If it wasn't for some injuries and then the gun in the locker room incident, and he got to play out more seasons, I believe we would have been talking about him in a totally different category. Also, keep in mind, Steven Jackson just last year called out NBA players for only chasing the bag and not trying to get a ring. He described a situation where he would rather have 50 million and a ring rather than 100 million and no ring. Steven Jackson, as we know, or we should know, was a champion. He won with the San Antonio Spurs as a role player. He definitely had some seasons, though, where at least from a statistical standpoint strictly, he could have been an all-star easily. But after these comments were made, Gilbert went on his podcast and said he's taking 300 million and no ring over a player that got 50 million and a championship. And that's the perfect segue to get into this video that Steven Jackson put up. Let's go.
There's too many scorers talking right now. They're not hoopers. There's a difference between scorers and hoopers, right? You got people that can score points, and like you give them the credit. Scoring points in the NBA is a hard job. A lot of us average 20 a year, right? I average 20 a couple of years. But scorers are not hoopers to us. Hoopers play on both ends. Hoopers compete. They play defense, they score, and they go down there to stop their man, and they win, right? Everybody in hoopers. It's a lot of players that came through the NBA that could score points that didn't have long careers. It's just the truth. But everybody's not a hooper. A lot of your favorite scorers were scary, they were soft, they didn't compete on defense, they didn't try to stop nobody, and they didn't make nobody better, and they didn't win, and they was never on the team when their team was #1 defensive team in the league. Big difference between hoopers and scorers. I respect hoopers.
I do lean towards in agreement what Steven Jackson is explaining. You got people, not even just the NBA, but in general, guys who play basketball, love scoring the basketball, but they don't know anything else other than putting the ball inside of the hoop. And there's so much more details and intricacies that go into the game. To me, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant are the greatest scorers in the NBA that we've ever seen. But there's no way that you can say that they're not hoopers as well. The way that they obsess and study the game so much, there's a reason why these guys made all defensive teams. Michael Jordan even won a defensive player of the year. There's a reason why towards the end of Kobe's career, he was still willing to guard the best player on the opposing team. So we don't look at Kobe as just somebody who scored 81 in a game and that's all he provided. But Michael Jordan, we say a lot more than just him leading the league 10 different times for the most points per game. I must say too, though, not every person who wasn't a defensive wizard or known for that on that side of the ball is now automatically disqualified from being a hooper. I look at a guy like a Dirk Nowitzki, Charles Barkley, highly skilled players that got MVP, but we don't look at them as just individuals that are caught up with only trying to score the ball. They were highly competitive and had a passion for the game. And I think the kind of scorers that Steven Jackson was talking about are the individuals who are only caught up with the fame, the accolades, the highlights, looking at the box score. That there's a difference between that versus someone who I just mentioned, a Charles Barkley, Nowitzki, even a guy like Shaq. There's been times where he has bowed out of conversations when it comes to defense. Like, he's admitted, I wasn't a defensive guy, I can't really talk about that. But no one would say that Shaq is not a hooper. Ultimately, desire and attitude are the core fundamentals that make up a hooper to me. This is why Steven Jackson and Andrew Wiggins had that back and forth several years ago. If y'all don't remember, Jimmy Butler was on the Timberwolves. He requested a trade, Andrew Wiggins' brother put up in response on social media a post that said hallelujah. Steven Jackson then criticized Wiggins, saying you don't have the kind of heart that Jimmy Butler has. You don't have any heart, period. This is what he was saying from his perspective, in his own opinion. I think Wiggins went on to silence that kind of critique with his play in the finals, though he hasn't been consistent. But I'm just pointing that out, right? You got to have that deep passion for the game.
And I remember, we in the layup line, and I was on him about, hey man, you got to get loose. You got to, get some layups. And he's like, no, I want to watch, the rotation of the ball, how many times guys, he was counting the rotation, like Joe's ball, spins like 3 times in the air. This guy spins like 2. And I had never heard anyone talk about rebounding in such a scientific way. This one, when he shoot, his ball is going to bounce short. This one's going to bounce long. This one's going to bounce over. He knew everybody's shot pattern and also the science of it.
I think that clip pretty much sums up the main point that Steven Jackson was emphasizing. The intensity and focus of the game is so much more than just scoring. And not a lot of people had it like the way Dennis Rodman did, and he wasn't someone who was known for scoring 15 or 20 points in a game. Anyways, let me know what you think. Do you agree with Steven Jackson? Do you disagree? Comment below. Let me know why you don't or you do. While you're at it, check the link in the description of this video. There's an Amazon purchase for the Kobe Bryant book, The Mamba Mentality. While we're talking about mindsets and dudes who are just hoopers, killer instinct, this is something that you would definitely want to read. And as always, salute for listening. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace.